Okay. So in the last class, we discussed the concept of files. So part of the lecture was easy because we every day use the files. So we are familiar with the concept of the files, file types, and attributes of the file. Only thing is we had to know the technical details of how do the operating system handles the files. So as part of that, we discussed about what is file, the file access methods. If you remember, there are two type of file access methods. This is important for today's lecture. Just one point, let me connect the device. Okay, so this point is needed for us because last class we discussed about file access method. If for today's lecture understanding, we need to just revise these two concepts. Remember, we talked about there are two type of file access. One is sequential and the second one is direct access. So if you remember the examples what we have seen for the sequential access, we start from the beginning of the file and then we can incrementally forward and read the data for the file. Means we cannot read the file from the middle portion. I gave you the example of the tape drive. So we have the records of the file, record number here, for example, we cannot go directly. We have to go from the records. So sequentially. So that is sequential access. Direct access, every record contains the numbers. Every record contains the number. So it will be record number 1, 2, 3, 4. So directly we can read there. Just one moment, please. Okay, so they are the two file access methods, sequential and direct. In the sequential access, we cannot directly go to a particular record. We need to move incrementally forward to read the data from any particular record. But in the direct access, we have seen the example of the direct access hardware is disk. From the disk, we can read the data from any location. Okay, and also we discussed about directory structure. Directory is like a folder. So we understand that we can have single directory, or the better thing is for each user, we can have different directory. And we discussed about the path names, file path we know. If we want to reach to a particular file, we need to specify the path like a C drive. Then I need to go to program files and then we specify the path file name dot txt. So we specify the path. Root is the main, and then we have the folder, for example, user one, and then we have the folder, then folder, then we can reach the file. So that is the path. We need to know about the path, and we remember we discussed about the structure of the directory. Maybe it is like a tree structure where we have the root folder, and in that we may have the subfolders. Maybe in that we may have the subfolders, and here maybe we'll have the files. So likewise, we talked about the basic concepts of the files in the previous lecture. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about how is the file system actually implemented in operating system and disk allocation methods. I told you that when we need to give the hard disk to the files, how operating system allocates the disk. Actually, what do they mean by this? How do the blocks of the disk will be given to the files for the storage? Okay, so these are the things what we have seen already. I explained to you how do we have the files, directories, and the partition. Operating system, this is the point we discussed in the last class. Operating system has to map the logical structure. The file is, we call it as a logical thing, and for that particular logical thing, we need to give the storage. If you remember, I put the picture like this. Like we know the file is containing the file name, but in reality, this is just a logical thing. Means there is no reality behind the file name. It is just a logical name given by the user. File name is a logical name. But what is the actual concept? The operating system has to take this file data. This file data is stored with this name logically. So where this data resides? The data resides on the hard disk. I put the same picture in the last class. The data will be in the hard disk. So logically, operating system has to map the data into the hard disk. Now, how it does? It has got the blocks. In the hard disk, we have the blocks. In today's lecture, we are going to understand that how these blocks are given. That is disk allocation methods. How do the hard disk is given to the file data? How the file is actually organized in the hard disk. That is the point we are going to discuss today. Okay. So the operating system has to map this logical structure onto the storage device that is hard disk. So this is done by, remember this, important, who is going to do this? File organization module of the operating system. Maybe I will ask you a question, who is going to map the logical file structure onto the storage device? This is going to be done by the file organization module of the operating system. Okay. And the point what I told you, that the smallest unit in the hard disk is called as a disk block. In lecture number 12, again, we'll talk about the disk blocks to understand better about the hard disk, because that lecture is completely on the storage, on the hard disk. Okay, so the small part of the hard disk, we call it as a disk block or a block. Okay, so the file organization module, which we have seen here, has to allocate the blocks for the storage of the file. So what this file organization module has to do, for each file, it has to give some disk blocks. That is, we are going to discuss now. A file is broken into logical blocks to make mapping to the disk blocks easier to manage. So what happens here? Our file is divided into our file is also divided into blocks. What we need to do now, for each logical block, we need to put in a physical block. So each logical block, we need to put onto the physical block. So to make this one easy, what basically the file organization module does, the file is broken into logical blocks to make the mapping to the disk block easier to manage. So each logical block will be put onto the physical block. Okay, now the important point comes in. This is the main core of this lecture today. Okay, how do we have to set aside the disk space for the files in the system to occupy? So now we have many files. How do we have to put the files onto the hard disk? Now remember these algorithms. Please remember, these algorithms are important, but we don't have any mathematical calculation like we have seen in the scheduling algorithm or page replacement algorithm. This is just a theory. Okay, so what is contiguous allocation? What is link allocation? These are some methods, or we call them as allocation algorithms, but there is no mathematical thing here. Just we need to understand these methods. Okay, so very important topic of the lecture. So you should know that how the file is going to be kept in the hard disk. Okay, what are all the methods? Let us discuss one by one. Contiguous allocation, linked allocation, file allocation table is the method used by Windows. Okay, indexed allocation is the method used by Linux. Okay, so I will tell you when I go to the slides, but let us understand one by one. Contiguous allocation. By the name itself, you might think. By the name itself, you can think that contiguous allocation is like continuous allocation. What do you mean by this? The file data is kept together in one location. Like if you remember the memory lecture, Okay, so you remember we have two type of memory allocation. One is contiguous memory, second one is non-contiguous memory. If you remember the lecture number 7, contiguous memory, we are going to put the data into memory holes, first fit, best fit, worst fit algorithms. And non-contiguous memory allocation is paging. We talked about this in the memory lecture, but just leave that part. Don't try to confuse yourself. Here, what is contiguous allocation is, if you look at the example here, each file occupies set of contiguous blocks on the disk. So how to remember this? I told you contiguous means remember it as continuous. Continuous blocks means what? They are going to be together in one location. If you see the example here, this is the folder or the directory structure. It stores the information about the file. It stores the information about the starting block of the file. It stores the information, what is the size of the file, the length of the file, how many blocks, I mean, how many blocks. Okay, let's take one example. The file name is mail. The file name is mail. And what is the starting block? Block number 19. And how many blocks this is going to take? 6 blocks. So where is 19? You can see here, this is 19. I will highlight it. It's already highlighted. This is 19. This is the file. From 19, how many blocks it is going to take? 6 blocks. So continuous. So these are the blocks given for that particular file. Continuous means the data is not here and there. So one block here, one block there, one block here. No, the allocation is contiguous, which is next to next. Is that clear, students? Is that clear?
Yes.
Is that clear? Any question here? No sound from the class? No sound. Shall I continue?
Yes, Mr.
Yes, continue.
Students, is it clear? Shall I continue? Or any question here?
No.
Okay. I hope, are you listening to me? Because I'm not getting any sound from the class.
Yes, Mr.
Students, are you getting my voice?
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue now. This is the first method. Now, to discuss what are all the advantages and disadvantages of this method. Okay, so once we put this method, sequential, they say the advantage is sequential. I told you that we are going to discuss about these two, whether it is sequential access or direct access. So whether the contiguous allocation method supports sequential access or it supports direct access, that we need to discuss. Okay, so advantages, is it good for the sequential access? Yes, it is good because continuously we can read the data. So because the next character to read is very close, the next block or the character to read is very close. Okay, so for example, this is block number 1. So the next block, block number 2, block number 3, block number 4. So it is easy that we can continuously read the data. So good for sequential access. Is it good for direct access? They say it is good because if I know, for example, I need to read block number 3. Okay, so you can think, teacher, how can I do direct access for this method? Okay, so if I want to read from block number 3, I know the starting block. Okay, block number is 1. I want to read the data from block number 3. So I say, okay, the third block. So which means I know the number is going to be 3. Suppose I will take another example to make it clear. Let us take the same example of the file, mail. Starting block is block number 19. I want to read record number block number 4. Okay, I want to read block number 4. So I know 19 is my first block. What will be the block number 4? So block number 2, block number 3, block number 4. So 20, 21, 22. So which means I know that if I know the starting block, if I want to read block number 4, I can directly start counting from here. Okay, because 19 is the first block, fourth block is going to be block number 24. Means in this method, there is easy direct access, there is easy sequential access. It means I can read the file from the beginning, it supports that. Even I can read the data from the directly any particular block. Okay, so what are the advantages? It is good for sequential access. Yes, because the next character to read is very close. It is the next block. Is it good for the random access? Yes, good, because we can just count the number of blocks. That's what I told you. We can count the block and directly we can go to that particular record. Okay, what is disadvantage? What are all the disadvantages here? External fragmentation. If you remember external fragmentation and internal fragmentation from the virtual memory lecture, I will revise you again. What is external fragmentation? Memory available in different locations, but not in the same location, and we cannot use it. This is external fragmentation. Okay, so remember, we talked about the holes, memory holes. So this is process 2, for example. Process 1 wants more memory. Process 1 wants more memory. It is available here and it is available there, but it cannot use because the contiguous memory allocation wants the memory to be in same location. Same thing for the file also. Think this as a file. Now take this as a hard disk. This method is contiguous allocation. It wants the data or file to be stored in continuous location, but now in the middle there are some other files and other data, means there is external fragmentation. So what is external fragmentation? Memory is available in different locations but not in the same location. Okay, leave this point. Okay, this is technical thing, I don't want to discuss about this. Just remember this. Disadvantage, external fragmentation. Disadvantage, internal fragmentation also. Okay, we think about this problem that we have external fragmentation, we may have the data here and there, but what we think, okay, for the file I will give more memory for the file. When I do this, there are two problems will happen. Sometimes the file may be very small, we are wasting the memory location here. Sometimes the file may be increasing because we don't know that the file can be reduced or the file can also be increased. So if I give the memory in the beginning, okay, this is your space, sometimes it may be reduced, sometimes it wants more, means there is a problem. So this method is good for sequential access, is good for random access, but it has got external fragmentation, means if the memory is available in if the storage is available in different locations, this method cannot use it. If we think that we want to give some some storage in the beginning of the file, sometimes the file can grow small, or sometimes the file can go shrink, or sometimes the file can grow or it can increase. So these are the two problems of contiguous allocation. Is that clear, students? Is that clear? So what is contiguous allocation? Continuously we are going to allocate the disk blocks. Okay, now we talked about the second method, which is non-contiguous memory allocation. So what is non-contiguous memory allocation? These are all the non-contiguous memory allocation methods. One of them is linked allocation. So what is linked allocation? Each file is a linked list of disk blocks. Okay, I will show the picture, then I will come back to this. Easy to understand the picture. Okay, now in the directory, what do we store? The name of the file, what is the starting block, and what is the ending block. And in the middle, each block will be having a link. It's like, you remember in the data structure, you have the linked list. It's the same concept. One block is connected to the next block. This block is connected to another block. This block is connected to other block. This block is connected to another block, like a chain, or we call it as a linked list. Okay, so now let us understand this. The starting block is block number 9. Where is block number 9? This is the block number 9. And the next block from this is block number 1. And the next block from this is block number 10. And the next block is of this is block number 25. And this is sorry, the block. Sorry, I'm reading in the wrong way. The block number starting with 9. Okay, the next block of this is block number 13. Sorry, it's 16. Sorry, it's 16. And from the next block is block number 1, then block number 10, and then the last block is block number 25. So this is the directory which contains the name of the file, starting block of the file, end block of the file. Now what contiguous memory allocation directory will have? The name of the file, starting block of the file, and the length or the size of the file, because we know the next block is the next one. So no need to know the last block, because once I know the length, automatically I know what is the last block. Okay, so 0 plus 2, it's going to be 2 blocks. So 0 and 2, that's going to be my last block. So like contiguous allocation, it stores the file name, starting block, and the length. But in linked allocation, it stores the file name, the starting block, and the last block or the end block. Okay, I will read it back. Each file is a linked list of disk blocks. We have seen it's a linked list of blocks, each are connected. The directory contains a pointer to the first block of the file. Each block of the file contains the pointer to the next block of the file. So that's what we have seen. Block number 9 connect to the block number 16. Block number 16 connected to block number 1. Block number 1 connected to block number 10. So each block is having the link between them. Is that clear, students? Is that clear?
Yes, Mr.
Okay. So these are the two methods. One is contiguous allocation. One is non-contiguous memory allocation. Okay. So what are all the advantages here? We are not using the file continuously. Means wherever the memory is available, we can just simply make a link and we can use. So because of that, no external fragmentation. Means we need not to have the memory in the same location. We don't want it. We can use anywhere. So that is one advantage of this. Okay. So the files can be big or the file can be small. No need to pre-allocate. What do you mean by pre-allocate? No need to give the memory in the beginning of the system, like we told about contiguous allocation. So if we give the memory in the beginning, the size of the file, that is contiguous allocation. But in the linked allocation, we need not to pre-allocate the size or pre-allocate the storage for the file. Okay, they are the two advantages of this. What are the disadvantages? Can only be used effectively for sequential files. What do we mean by this? We can read the data only from beginning to the last one, because the chaining is happening because of the blocks. So block number 1, maybe we'll take it to some other block. If I want to read the data from the beginning to end, it's okay. But if I want to read the data in the middle, I don't know. How can I go there? Because if I want to read the data from this block, okay, so block number 1 does not know about this block. Block number 2 will know about the block. If I go to block number 2, it will tell me to go to block number 3. So directly, if I want to read from block number 4 or block number 5, not possible. Check the example here. If I want to read the data from block number 10, not possible. I cannot go there. I have to go to block number 1, that is block number 9. It will tell me to go to the next block, that is block number 16. So I go to block number 16. So here it will tell me that go to block number 1. So I can come to block number 1. Here it will tell me to go to block number 10. So directly I cannot go to one particular block. Is that clear? Is that clear now? So it is good for only sequential file. It is not good for random access. So it is not for random access, it is only good for sequential access. Okay, now because we are storing some pointer, what is pointer? You remember pointer and data structure. So which each block we need to store which is the next block, that is pointer. That is pointer. So if you see the picture here, this block contains the data plus a pointer telling that the next block is block number 16. So if I go to block number 9, the data will be here, and here we need to mention the pointer that the next block is block number 16. Means this pointer is going to take some memory. So that is not a good idea because the pointer is going to waste or take up some space. Okay, so internal fragmentation they say, because we have the chaining, so sometimes the file may be reduced or file may be increased. There is a possibility of internal fragmentation of losing the memory. Another problem of this is reliability. What is reliability is in the hard disk, sometimes this point we'll discuss in our last lecture number 12. Sometimes we have bad blocks. Bad blocks. What do we mean by bad blocks? Because of some reason, some portion of the hard disk does not work. Maybe physical damage, or maybe damage by virus or some problem. Some part of the hard disk may not work. Example, suppose if this block is not working, then what about my file? Gone. Because the chain is broken now. I will go to my block number 9, sorry. I will go to this block. After that, I don't know where to go because this block, it tell me to go to block number 1, but now my block number 1 is not working. So there is a doubt about reliability, whether we can depend on this method or not. Okay, so these are all some advantages and disadvantages of linked allocation. So this is very dangerous method. We don't normally use this method. Okay, now this is another important method because this is used by our Windows. This is important because Windows, our operating system we use widely, contains this method. So file allocation table, FAT. Easily you can remember this as FAT, file allocation table. Okay, so what is this? You can remember the examples, Microsoft DOS, or you can also remember about Windows, and OS2 is another operating system. Okay, so these are all the operating system use this method. What will be there in the method? There will be a table. Okay, we call it as file allocation table. I will show you the picture. Okay, so we'll have a table, file allocation table. It is in the beginning of each partition of the hard disk. What will be there? With the entry of each block in the partition. So what will be there? There will be a table. There will be a table. This is called as a FAT. What is FAT? File allocation table. So what will be here? There will be an entry for each block of the hard disk. So there will be a entry for each block of the hard disk. Okay, now that is about the file allocation table. Where this is going to be? This is in the beginning of each partition. You remember last class we talked about hard disk. Okay, so the hard disk, we can logically put the partition. Even if you don't put the partition, in the beginning of the hard disk, this table will be there in the beginning of the hard disk. Okay, now we are talking about directory. I told you that directory will be there in every method. Here also, there is a directory. Contiguous allocation also, there is a directory. What is directory? It contains the information about the file. Okay, now in this method, how the directory will be? Okay, so the directory entry for the file specifies the block number for the first block of the file. Like we have seen the example here. In the directory for the linked allocation, what will be in the directory? Name of the file, the starting block and the ending block. And in the contiguous allocation, the name of the file, starting block, and the end and the length of the file. But here what will be there? It contains, for a specific file, the directory entry for a file specifies the block number for the first block of the file. So that is going to be the block number of the first block of the file that is in the directory. Okay, now once we come to this, for example, this is block number 10. Now if I come to this block number 10, from here, like linked allocation, it's a kind of a linked allocation. Please remember, this is not a new method. It's one kind of a link allocation, but the linking is not happening inside the hard disk. The linking is happening inside this table. Okay, now if I go to block number 10, because this is the first block, it will tell me what is my next block. Then it will tell me what is my next block. Then it will tell me what is my next block. So that is how the linking happens inside the table. Okay, so just remember this point. Linking happens in the table. I will show you the picture. It will be very clear for you. So this is file allocation table. So how it is going to be? Now see this. This is the directory. What will be there in the directory? So the name of the file, the extension, and it says what is the starting block. This is the second file. What is the starting block? This is the third file. What is the starting block? Okay, so I'll say, for example, for autoexe.bat, one example file, the starting block is block number 2. Now for this, block number is block number 5. Now for this, block number 10. Okay, which means the directory will tell that where is the starting of the file. Okay, now this is file allocation table. This is the table. So we are seeing that this is the table. So when I come to, suppose I want to read the data about this file. Okay, so if I come to this, okay, let me take another example. I will take, okay, this example. Okay, so scheduler.cc. I want to read the data about this file. I have to go to first block number 5. Okay, if I come to block number 5, then block number 5 will tell me, okay, there is a data here. Now your next block is going to be block number 9. So from this block, you can see there is a line. I need to go to block number 9. Now what is block number 9? End of the file. The file is done. That's the end of the file. Okay, let's take a big example. I want to read the data about this file. So I need to come to block number 2. So I come to block number 2. My next block is block number 4. So I am going to block number 4 for reading the data. So block number 4. Now the block number 4 says your next block is block number 8. So the data of the next block is block number, like linked allocation. So from here, I need to go to block number 8. So I come to block number 8. Now the next block for me is block number 6. Okay, so the next block is block number 6. So when I go to block number 6, now this is end of the file. The file is finished. Okay, likewise, the chaining is happening. Same like this. Same like this. Okay, so I need to delete it. Anyway, so this is same like this, but the linking is not happening inside the disk. The linking is happening with the help of file allocation table. Okay, now you can think, teacher, what is the advantage of this? This is reliable. Comparing to this, I said this is not reliable. Here it is going to be reliable because the data of the table, we are not talking about a disk block here. This is just a table, like information about a table. So this information is safe in the operating system. This information is safe in the hard disk. So if I want to read the data for a particular file, I need to come to this table. The table will have all the information that where in which part of the hard disk the data is kept. So this method is safe comparing to the linked allocation. That's what we say. It's a variant of linked allocation. It is not something special. It's one kind of linked allocation. Like we are now frequently hearing about coronavirus. We got a new variant. What is a new variant? It is not a new virus. It is changing little bit. So we call it as alpha, beta, delta. Now we got a new variant of coronavirus, that is Omicron. So the coronavirus is just changing little bit. So in the same way, I'm giving you example to remember this variant. Okay, so it's one variety of linked allocation. So what is happening? Same way, we are having the linking of the disk blocks, but not directly inside the hard disk with the help of this table. And we call this table as file allocation table or file access table. I call it as file allocation table. Okay, so this is popular because Microsoft Windows or Microsoft company operating systems, they use this method. Okay, in the old in the old systems, not the new ones. Okay, so what are all the advantages of this? I told you it is same like linked allocation. So advantages are also same like linked allocation. In addition, direct access is better supported because they say in the linked allocation we say we cannot do direct access. If you remember that, if I have to go to a block somewhere in the middle, I need to come from this block to the next block. So direct access is not possible, I told you. But here the linking is happening with the help of a table. Okay, so it is easy to find. Just we need to read the data. Okay, I need to go to this table to see where is my data for this particular block. So I can directly, I need not to read every block. I can see the information in the table. Okay, I want to read the data for a particular block. So this information is block number 20. So I can go to the hard disk directly to block number 20 and I can read the data. So that is the point they are making here. The advantages are same like linked allocation, but in addition to that, direct access is better supported because chaining through the file allocation table is faster than chaining through the linked list. Linked list, we have to go to each block physically. It will take a lot of time. It will take access time. Then only we can reach the block. But reaching with the help of, I tell you the example. We have the book index. Okay, we have the book index, and we have the pages of the book. Pages of the book. So can I go to a page directly if I don't have the index? If I want to go for a chapter 10, if I want to go to chapter 10, and if I don't have book index, is it easy to go? Tell me. I want to read about chapter 10 and I don't have the book index. We know the book index will contain the information about the page numbers and the chapters. So if we don't have the book index, so do you think we can directly read the information about chapter 10?
No.
No.
No, it will take a lot of time because I need to go through all the pages, right? We need to flip all the pages. Okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. After, I can flip many pages also, but it will take some time to go to chapter number 10. But if I have index, is it easy to go to chapter number 10?
Yes.
Yes, because we know the page number now. So roughly I can just quickly open the pages and directly I can go to page number 10. Sorry, chapter number 10. That's what they are telling here. In linked allocation, we cannot directly go, but with the help of this table, like remember, this table is like an index table. You can easily remember. So this is like an index of the book, which shows what is the starting, which means suppose this is a chapter. It tells for if you want to read this chapter, go to page number 2. So when you go to page number 2, it will tell you your next page is page number 8. Your next page is page number 6. So likewise, easy. This is like an index of the book. So that is what the advantage of the file allocation table or file access table. What are the disadvantages? Same as linked allocation, we need to have a lot of head seeks. Means every time we need to go to the table because it is a double work now. If I have to read the data about the file directly, I cannot go to the hard disk. I need to come to this table. I need to see where is the chapter. I mean, where is the file? Then we need to go to the hard disk, which means lot of work for the operating system to do it will take little bit of time, but still we have many advantages of this method. Okay, so that is what is about file allocation table. Now the last one is indexed allocation. Now actually this word I should not use here. That's why I was not using the word index, because index allocation is like exactly book index. Okay, so each file, because I'm telling you file allocation table as an index. Okay, but really in Unix there is a method called indexed allocation. Now what happens here, each file has an index block special. This is not in the hard disk, this is not in the partition, this is for each file. For each file, like for each book, there is an index block. Okay, now I want to compare them. Okay, so here if I take this example, okay, so here for whole book, imagine this is a book, chapter 1, chapter 2 as the files. For the whole book there is one big index. Okay, but what we are telling here, for each chapter or for each file there is a index block. What it contains? It contains a table like the book index table specifying the physical block for each logical block. Okay, the directory entry for the file contains the address of its index block. Now let's check the example. So this point we'll see the picture. So if you see this, what will be the information in the directory? The name of the file, not the starting block, not how many blocks we have, or not the file allocation table example. What will be in the directory? The block number of the index block. Now this is block number 19. Block number 19 is the index block. So what will be there in the index block? The index block containing a table specifying the physical block for each logical block. Now here you can see all the physical blocks for the file. So block number 9, block number 16, block number 1, block number 10, block number 25, -1 is end of the file. Normally when we have -1, it is like end of the file. Okay, so this is what we have for in the index block. Now what is the purpose of that? If I want to read the data about this file, first of all I need to go to block number 19. If I want block number 19, I will identify my first block is block number 9. So I will read the data from block number 9. My next block is block number 16. So I will read the data from block number 16. My next block is block number 1. So I'll read the data from block number 1. Like anything about the file, if I want to find the information, I need to come to block number 19, because block number 19 is the index block for that particular file. Is that clear, students, about this? Is that clear? Okay, so what is the point here we are making? This is also non-contiguous memory allocate, non-contiguous storage. We can use any data block available in the hard disk, but how do I know which block I am going to use for my file? With the help of this index block. So in the index block, we have all the information related to the file block, so that I can go and I can get the data. Please remember, always when we have -1, that is end of the file. End of the file. Okay, now what are all the advantages? Very easy direct access, because everything is available in the index. Like I told you about the book index. If I want to read the data about a particular block, I will see the index. I can see the block number directly. I can go and get the data from there. So that's the reason why very easy direct access, no external fragmentation. We know that external fragmentation is wherever the memory is available, we can use it. So no external fragmentation. But if you look at here, there is some internal fragmentation. So what is internal fragmentation? Because we need to give some space to the index block, which means we need to give some memory or storage to the file in the beginning. So maybe the index blocks, we may use it or we may not use it, but we are going to waste some memory. So that's why they are telling there is a possibility of internal fragmentation. But still they say, is it really existing or not? We don't know. Wasted space because of internal fragmentation. Why? Because we have to allocate a large array for the index, because we don't know how big the index need to be. Also, lot of head seeks like linked allocation. So what they are telling here, we need to give more space here. That's why you can see here -1, because this is all space given for that particular block. So this is all waste. That's what they are telling here, internal fragmentation. And second point is, please remember, except the first method, all the other methods are having lot of head seeks. What do we mean by head seeks? I will tell you in lecture number 12. What is head seek? We have the data here in the beginning of the hard disk. The next block may be end of the hard disk. The next block may be middle of the hard disk. The next block may be somewhere in the hard disk. The next block may be somewhere in the hard disk, which means it takes lot of head seeks. What do you mean by head seeks? The head of the hard disk. So I hope you know. I will show you the picture of lecture number 12. Okay, so for the hard disk, we have the platter. Means our data will be kept into tracks. Okay, and the hard disk will be rotating. So here we will have a head to read the data, and there will be heads, two sides. Read the data from the top, read the data from the bottom. So if I want to find the data from this cylinder, the hard disk has to rotate and it has to come under the head. Then only it can read the data. Some part here, some part there, some part here, some part there, means the head has to keep on rotating to identify the data, which means it is going to take more time. But suppose if it is contiguous allocation. So in contiguous allocation, the data is kept in one location. So if you look at the hard disk, all the data will be next to next. So if the head comes to this location, it can start reading the data, the next one, 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 easily, which means the head is not going to go to different locations to identify the data. So that's the reason why only the first method, only few head seeks, but all the other methods, linked allocation, file allocation table, indexed allocation, there are lot of head seeks. And please remember, our last lecture is about the scheduling algorithms for the reading of the data from the hard disk. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. So these are all the advantages and disadvantages of indexed allocation. Okay, so this method is used by Unix. So what will be there in the Unix? We call it as inode. This is the index allocation block, or Unix index block is called as inode. Please remember, maybe a multiple choice question or some question to ask you, what is inode? Okay, so what is inode is, it combines direct indexing with multi-level indexing. So I just want you to remember easily. So take this like, okay, I will give you a simple example. So if you take book, okay, so we have chapters. Okay, so chapter 1. In this chapter 1, maybe we have sub-chapter. Sub-chapter 1. Sub-chapter 2. Okay, so like, in the book, we have a chapter. In the chapter, we have maybe a sub-chapter. In chapter number 1, maybe we have topic 1, maybe we have topic 2, maybe we have topic 3. So if you understand this is level 1, then this is level 2, then this is level 3. Okay, so first information is about the chapters. If I see the chapter, okay, then I will understand in this I have subchapter. If I go to the chapter 1, I have two subchapters. If I go to subchapter number 1, then I will understand that there are subtopics. This is like not like a single level, not like one level. Okay, so this is like multi-level. So we have chapters. In the chapter, we have subchapters. In the subchapter, we have the topics. So this is called as multi-level indexing. Okay, if you look at this picture, so we have the disk blocks. In the disk blocks, we have some disk blocks. In the other disk block, we have some sub disk blocks. Like, the indexing is not just one level. The indexing is sub blocks. I mean, it is going to be multi-level. Okay, so you can see this one block is divided into 3 blocks. Okay, so another block may be divided into 2 more blocks. So likewise, it is going to be double indirect. You can see single indirect. This is direct. This is direct. Directly, we have 3 blocks. Now, if you look at this, I come to the sub block. If I come here, then I will come to this sub block. If you look at this double indirect, we come to this level, then we have this sub level. Okay, so likewise, we have multi-level indexing, not just one index. Remember the book example what I gave you, multi-level indexing. Who uses this method? The Unix uses this method. And what is the name given for this method? Is called as inode. The Unix index block is called as inode index node, which contains direct indexing with multi-level indexing. Is that clear, students? Is that clear about the methods?
Yes,
Okay, so these are all the ways of how do the operating system allocate the data storage for the files. So we don't know anything about this. What we just simply do, if I complete my work, click on file. When I click on save, the operating system has to take my data from the memory. Now, if I open Microsoft Word, now I am typing. So where is this data? This data is going to RAM. Now when I simply click on file, and just we know just clicking this file, save, and we just give the name of the file. I want to save this in desktop. Okay, just name test. That's what we know. When I click save, what's happening in the background? That you understood. That file, this file is divided into blocks. Okay, maybe now I will tell you about the blocks. Okay, so when we go to lecture number 12, we will understand the size of blocks. Okay, so what is the size of the block? Suppose my file is very big. I may need 10 blocks. If a file is very small, maybe 1 block is enough for me. So what the operating system does, it will check my file. It will identify how much size I need for my particular file. Then it will divide that into blocks. Okay, so what happened? It will take the file, what we have created in Microsoft Word, for example. It will see, okay, this file is required to have 10 blocks. So this is my file now. Logical blocks. Now for each logical block, it needs to find the physical block in the hard disk. So as I told you about Windows, please remember one point. We are using Windows 7, or maybe we are using Windows 10. The file system what we are using is not file allocation table. It is called as NTFS, New Technology File System. New Technology File System, but it is based upon the same file allocation table. Okay, so it will check what is the file system, and according to the file system, as I told you, it will go to the hard disk and put this data in the appropriate place in the hard disk according to the file system of the operating system. If it is Windows, it will use file allocation table. If it is Unix, it is going to use this inode to store the information about the directory. What is main point we need to know? what is the information of the directory. So the folder contains what kind of information. So that is what the main point we need to understand. Okay, so that is the main idea of this particular lecture. Okay, so that completed that. Just one small point I will complete the lecture just to make you understand about file system. Okay, if I say for example, I want to format my disk. Okay, so if I want to format my disk, see here, I want you to know this. What is the file system? My computer is using NTFS. NTFS stands for New Technology File System. If you are using old Windows 95 or the prior Windows, it shows FAT32, file allocation table. But what is the file system we are using? NTFS. Okay, now if I put, for example, my flash drive or my D drive, when I click on start, what it is going to do, it is going to format. I will tell you about formatting in lecture number 12 because there is a topic about formatting. But I want to show you today what is the file system, because we talked about the file system of the lecture. So this is file system, which is New Technology File System. If you want to read more about this, read in the Google. So what is NTFS, New Technology File System, what it does. Okay, so that is what basically it's going to do. Okay, so hope you understood about the concept of files. So with that, we have completed our lecture number 10. So we are now left with 2 lectures, lecture number 11 and lecture number 12, which we will most probably completing in the next week.